Wow, Blackstar, finally doing this. I'm very excited, and I waited to get a few historic NFT pods under my belt because Blackstar is actually one of the leaders in this historical NFT space. He's an archaeologist who's been here since the beginning and started one of the first two archaeological discords between atoms and the NFT Relics. Blackstar has been all over the map with history. He's been an outspoken leader who just hasn't received enough attention. But I've seen him starting to accrue some more social capital in the space. So excited to sit here, discuss about the semantics of what a token actually is and how to derive value from everything that we're doing in this weird, kooky space. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Jack. It has been a remarkable journey, and I'm very honored to have you here. And it's a very crazy time in the overall NFT and crypto space. And historic NFTs are my passion, and it's really awesome to be here again. And I'm very excited for this podcast.
When I first dove into the historical space was with Mooncats, and over that summer, I saw you kind of holding your ground when it comes to some of the different ideological debates between Ethereum tokens and XRP tokens and now Namecoin tokens. I can tell there's a lot of you do a lot of methodical thinking. You pursue a lot of deep thought, and there has to be something in your history that led you up into this passion with history. So I think the best way to start is something that we're all familiar with, and let's start with the beginning of Blackstar. Of first, like, what brought you into this space and kind of built that passion within the historical tokens.
That's a very, very good first question. Also a very deep question, and I like that. Well, the name Blackstar, first of all, is I created this name from my earlier days playing Call of Duty, and I don't know, the idea of a star that overlooks everything but itself is black and can't be seen is a very intriguing picture or intriguing idea. So I don't know. I was always in my personal life, I'm a very observant guy, and I was kind of an outsider in my teens, but I always I used my mind and my rational thinking skills and my observations always to conclude my own things. So I always this is something that branches into all areas of my life, and I think that the historical NFT space is just one. It's just one of these branches where I try to really perfectionate my passion, and it's like a little container for my own deductive reasoning and everything else, because the collectible world has these very simple but very strict rules that everyone understands and everyone naturally goes to. So when I talk about, for example, when I talk about historic NFTs with people who are not involved with them at all, they all understand that old NFTs must be worth a lot. So there's no debate about it. And I got into cryptocurrency in 2016. I bought my first Bitcoin at $400, and I experienced the bull run of 2017. And yeah, I made a lot of money, but I didn't really sell. So yeah, lesson learned. But there were always like the idea of digital ownership. First, yeah, I first saw that opportunity in Decentraland. So Decentraland was quite popular in 2017, and it was like it was just a page, and there was like plots of land, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? It's very interesting. And I was talking to a friend, and I said, I gotta get one of these Decentraland land plots for $150. And yeah, also CryptoKitties got me into the. It was like the opening, both of them, CryptoKitties and Decentraland. They opened my mind for this idea of digital ownership, and because I was a gamer, I understood the implications it had for the entire gaming industry. So years passed, and we were in 2020, and yeah, I had some kind of setback in my life. I was at zero, so to speak, in many areas. There was like a great reset in my life, and I found myself again. And yeah, I had some stable income, and I put everything into crypto since February 2020. Like everything, every penny I had, I ate and lived like a minimalist. I still am kind of a minimalist, and yeah, so that was a good call from my side, as we know how things have developed. And yeah, I got into the space again in 2020 with the launch of Decentraland. That was in February 20th, the 20th February in 2020. And there was my first contact with the very early NFT community, because Decentraland is a metaverse. There are a lot of companies who are represented in Decentraland, even back then, and we are all just a very small community. There are a couple of names that are still around. For example, Matty, a DCL blogger. Yeah, and we once had a moonshot tournament. It was like a stadium in Decentraland, and all the NFT companies had their own shirts with their logo on it. And yeah, from OpenSea, for example, Super Rare, Known Origin, like a very big event. And yeah, I came into contact with all of these, and I made my first purchases on OpenSea. And then yeah, I have been monitoring the whole space for now nearly 2 years. And yeah, and now almost 1 year into historic NFTs. I think the whole thing started with Mooncats. That's when the first the first interest was there. The first, oh yeah, that makes sense. They exist. They must be valuable, and everyone rushed into it. Unfortunately, I didn't even get to mint one. I was too late, and I because a friend of mine he asked me, "Hey, did you mint some of these Mooncats? They are from 2017." I was, "Oh yeah, that's interesting." But I gotta go outside. I will come back later. Maybe there will be some left, and they will all have been minted. And then I was thinking, well, that's interesting. What if there are more? What if there's more? And I was thinking about it, and yeah, not long after that, Curio cards got rediscovered, and then Ethereum. So yeah, Ethereum and or the people who found Ethereum, they made the first Discord dedicated to historic NFTs, and this Discord is called ETH Relics. they called it ETH Relics. And they made the unofficial Mooncat wrapper. They made the Curio card wrapper, and they also made an exchange for the 1.1 Ethereum version and the 1.2 Ethereum version. And it was very, quite empty. But the only real thing that was going on was a big debate about the two Ethereum versions, because the 1.2 version was the one that Cyrus Atkinson, the creator who made these, endorsed and supported, and people in the archeologists, the name was not there back then, but people who were interested said, well, but there's this 1.1 version as well, and it's nearly identical, and it was 3 days earlier. So we don't care what the dev says. We care about what the on-chain evidence is. So there was like those two factions, and there are even memes from that era when they had this little war, because they said, no, we are the first NFT. No, we are the first NFT. And I was there and I witnessed it all. Unfortunately, the creator Cyrus didn't really help the situation to resolve in a kind of thing. And then the historic NFT space slowly died again. So there was months and weeks without any action, and I was like, well, that's sad, right? Because curio cards were at like $50 or so each, and it was after, I think, Gary V talked about them. Then they skyrocketed again. And then people had, interest again. And the people from ETH Relics eventually moved forward. They had their own plans. A lot of them were occupied with personal stuff. And I was like, it's really sad to see this, because there's so much potential, and we probably haven't even discovered all of the relics out there. And I think it was at that time that Adam created his channel, and he discovered Pixelmap. So it was my idea to found NFT Relics. Like, I wanted a place for all the projects, and where everyone can debate freely without censorship, and where everyone could educate himself, and to understand the historic NFTs, right? So I hit up my German friend Suti, and he's like the technical guy. And then also Decentralizer, he's also a dev. And then we created NFT Relics. And we are now at 2,000 members. And we are proud of what we have achieved so far.
Yeah, the ETH Relics Discord is well done. You have on the side chat, and here I could pull it up here in a second. The ETH Relics Discord, as you could see on here, that I just pulled up, you have literally a channel for every single project that becomes uncovered, or at least has some sort of information. As you can see, new ones are popping up, and you have it split even to Bitcoin Counterparty, Namecoin, and even Cardano, which I actually never figured out why, but maybe I'll ask in a second.
I know. I can explain. Yeah, it's Yeah, Swooty knows the guy who made like the space butts and the berries.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows him personally. And I was like, well, Cardano is like not really ancient, and the NFTs there are also not old. But I don't know. He wanted to add it for himself, I guess. But yeah, we will see.
I guess that's called pumping your own bags, right?
Yeah.
I have to say it's interesting debate or going back and forth between like yours and Adam's, because it's never really the same two historic projects that are generally like debated in the beginning. It's kind of interesting to see like the different ideologies, but I would say I would recommend yours if people are just trying to come and learn and uncover something, because you have literally all of the different information from the creator, the contract, the marketplace, and so on and so forth, the Twitter account. And with some of these older projects, right, there's not even a marketplace. You have to mint still from the contract, or the dev never returned, and all of these different components to it. So I really admire your guys' tenacity to build this stuff, because no one else was. So
yeah, thank you.
No problem. I guess we could kind of get into, we'll continue on with the conversation a little bit, right? So in August of last year, Adam uncovered Pixel Map, and then this kind of led like the second edition of NFT archaeology digging, because then I believe like Realms of Ether was uncovered, and there was a few other ones right after that. I think Ether Rock was around that time, and then some of the 2018 ones started popping up around that time as well. And I think to this day, then, right around that time through the rest of the year, is when people started going even farther back. They're like, okay, I think we've kind of hit our laps. We've went all the way back on Ethereum chain, all the way back to 2015, and now we're extending out to 2018. Let's go start digging some other chains. And this is when Emblem Vault came into the scene, and they started vaulting Bitcoin assets, and then eventually Namecoin assets, which took, I think, a lot of us some time to kind of figure out what was really going on over there at the time. What is your opinion on Bitcoin, or you could say counterparty assets? Because this is always a hot debate, which some people probably don't know. Counterparty assets, the image can be changed at any point, and it's more become a semantic debate where the art or the value is in the token rather than the image, which most new buyers or the historical diggers in Ethereum know that the image is actually pretty important. So just kind of want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I have been very, very strict in my in the way I distinguish between these chains, because we are at such an early point, and everyone wants to pump his bags, and it's just funny to see that people come up with rather insignificant random counterparty tokens with nothing on them, and making like insane claims. It's the first this and this, and the first this and this, and so forth. And I was like, well, we have to be very objectical about things, and we have to, because it was like the first problem I saw is that everything was called an NFT, and people say, well, yeah, NFT is just the name that. And it lost its meaning of non-fungible token, and it's just something to describe something that you can collect on the blockchain. And I was like, well, when that's the case, why don't you just differentiate between counterparty token and or counterparty assets? You can call them assets, you can call them token, because a lot of these token, or the vast majority, is not non-fungible. They are all fungible token, except for 101 token, so token with only a supply of one. But some of them can still be divisible, and even though they are just one supply, they are not really part of a collection. So you cannot collect something when it's not part of a collection. That's my thought process behind that. And so I just call counterparty token or counterparty NFTs, I call them assets from the counterparty layer. And the same with Namecoin. I call them also Namecoin assets because they lack some characteristics of today's non-fungible token that, for example, the expiry, Namecoin names, they expire naturally. And it is, so they are really much ENS names pointing, or they can point to an image or some kind of metadata. So, and when I do this differentiation between these asset classes, I am not taking value from them. I'm just not adding false value to them, because a NFT project from the Ethereum blockchain can't be compared with a counterparty token in any way. It's just not reasonable. The only way they could be comparable if they had the same technical
like properties.
The same technical properties. For example, Spells of Genesis and curio cards. Curio cards, as many don't know, is they are essentially not really NFTs because every card is the same. They don't have a serial number. And if you have one Mona Lisa curio card, there's no difference within the set of Mona Lisas. The only thing that is different are the different sets themselves. So they are a lot like Spells of Genesis cards, where that's the same case. Yeah. So what we try in NFT Relics, or what we also did, is we compiled a list of all token from counterparty from the very beginning to, I think, 2020 or something. So we have a massive list of all token that have been issued on the whole chain. And we have also a list of all Namecoin assets or Namecoin names. So because people like to come in and shill their own bags and want to try to sell some things, and that's what we did.
So let's talk a little bit about the NFT Relics Explorer. This is now the second edition of a historic Explorer I've seen. There's Pepe.wtf and then the Relics Explorer, and it's all counterparty assets that we had been discussing, or at least some of them.
Yeah.
How long did this thing take to build, and why is it important that these various archaeological explorers are built?
So what we saw was a very high demand for a place where we can have an overview of all assets from a particular collection, in this case, Spells of Genesis. And the reason for that is because the Emblem Vault and OpenSea don't really have the capability to present it in a user-friendly way. If you want to know the floor of, let's say the beer whale card, you have to check counterparty, if there are any dispensers or something in the exchange. Then you have to go to OpenSea, type in, or go to Emblem Vault, then go to Spells of Genesis in Emblem Vault, and then filter be a whale again. And it's just a very it's a tedious process. And so a lot of people ask for this kind of explorer. And I think Leonidas made a post to raise funds, because no one is going to do it just for nothing, because it's a lot of work. And I saw it, and I tagged Swooty and Decentralizer, and they accepted it to do it. Like I said, they are the technical guys behind the scenes, so to speak. And I think they did it in, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I think 2 months maybe, and then they finished it. And the good thing is that you can always add something new. You can maybe we will do other collections like Force of the Will or other XCP assets. We'll see.
Do you plan to keep this only as XCP assets, or do you plan to add some other chains like Namecoin or whatever chain pops up in the future with maybe some sort of historical value?
The problem with Namecoin assets is that on a Namecoin there are not really I don't know about one intentionally made collection on Namecoin.
Yeah, I do not believe that there is.
Yeah, all these, for example, Twitter X. I own a Twitter X. You do as well. A lot of collectors own also Namecoin assets, but these were created unintentionally and not in a way that there was an actual project and that pursued to have a community and to add value to the asset. So we have with the Namecoin, we just have a lot of names and a lot of names with URLs, and we don't really see the point of making the effort, because we have to link each and every single asset to the page. And it's impossible. It's not impossible, but it's not really worth it.
I agree. Yeah. So there's a lot of technical complexities tied to it, but also there's as you mentioned in the beginning, you're a very objective person, and with Namecoin assets, there's a lot of subjectivity and narrative construction that surrounds a lot of these assets, right? Like Twitter eggs makes sense because it was the most popular default picture at the time. So you can kind of form and construct a story around it to make it a little, or to make it more understandable and consumable for those who just want to either ape in or be a part of some sort of narrative, because that's kind of what historical NFTs are, right? They all have a story behind them. That's what gives them historical value. And for those who are digging, you have to kind of figure out what the story is. That's why we have these conversations and we get in these semantic debates, because sometimes the creator or the leader isn't well liked, or they're biased, or the leader or creator is like Satoshi and just never came back. And so we're kind of stuck just in these circular conversations as to what is the true meaning of any of these things, or are they a collection, or is there a community that can be formed around these?
Right. And in the case of, for example, the Twitter X, it was actually not a conviction play on my side that I said, I'm going to buy this because I believe in the historic value. But I bought it because I thought that the whole, like you said, the whole narrative around it and the way you could present it makes or would be interesting for enough people so that this investments kind of plays out. And in a way we can see it also with the ACDAO. So there's a community that formed around Twitter X, and then they formed the ACDAO. That's a it's a way to add additional value to the underlying asset, and I think it's very well made. And I think we will see a lot of these kind of DAOs for other relics as well. But I think that, for example, Twitter X, it is kind of a necessity to do it, because all the lore and all the history and the whole narrative is not intrinsic to the asset. There is a lot of information out there that is just not on the chain, and you have to gain access to all the backstory, and you have to have a place where you can dig through that. And if we look at, for example, Ethereum, most Ethereum NFTs, we see, or we can extract a lot of the narrative and the history from the asset itself, because it's a lot of is described on chain. They have websites, they are like projects intended to do something. Even on Counterparty, like Spells of Genesis, there's a game that's still there, so you can use these cards in a mobile game to play. You have a lot of articles over the years. You have presentations, interviews from years ago on YouTube. There's just no denying, in that regard.
That just doing some digging, the interesting component is finding old YouTube videos or old Medium articles, or even for Namecoin, going to Bitcoin Talk and finding Satoshi and Hal Finney and Gavin Andreessen talking about forking Bitcoin to BitDNS. That's one of the pillars of each asset, is finding that provenance out there so that you can build on top of it. And that's what a lot of us kind of form around. I do want to talk about this as you're somebody who has built these projects and you're familiar with all of them. I kind of speak about this a lot, that within historical NFT space, we have an issue with supply distribution, where a lot of the OG holders have a large amount of an entire collection or a specific asset within each individual collection. As you can see here, right, the top 3 holders of some of these cards is like well into the 90%. And sometimes it becomes really tough for certain historical assets to take off, because those OG holders just dump into the momentum cycles and push it right back down. And so kind of what is your thought on the unequal distribution? Is there a way that you see is the fastest path to overcome this obstacle? And maybe just add on some other modalities that you've seen some different people in the space kind of combat this this hurdle.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because there will always be whales, and like I'm looking right now at the screen, I see like 100%, 49, 94, 49%, and so on and so forth, all held probably by Crystal Suit, by EDS, by the devs of Spells of Genesis. And it is just the way things happened, and there is no real satisfying short-term solution for it. There are some people. Yeah, we are here at the Rare Pepes.
Yeah, see, Rare Pepes has the issue. Mooncats has the issue. Curio cards. There's a bunch of them. We'll get into this a little bit later, but with V1 punks, eggs. Like it's a lot. It's a lot of them, and maybe it's an unspoken thing, but it's something that should be debated.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. There is the solution of a burn, but I don't really like burns, to be honest, because even even with all these whales and looking into the future and how things will probably develop for the historic NFT space, there will be very few people who can obtain even one historic asset from this whole period for an affordable price. And I think that whales should just distribute them in a responsible way. We can see it with V1 punks. That there are some guys who have. There's one whale that has 1,000 of them, and he's giving some away. He's giving some back to the original owners. He sells them at floor price, but not to crash the floor, just to stabilize the floor, kind of thing. Because burning is really, it's like, it really is sad to see, because some of these assets, like for example the test token, I think it had like 600 or 800. I don't know what was the original. Initial supply there, 1,000, and 600 got destroyed, and I'm like, well, it's a waste of 600 people who can participate, and this burn was just very recently, and there's not really there was not really a reason for that, other to cap the supply, and I think that's really sad. Yeah, but I don't know. For all these Pepes with thousands of supply, I think they, slowly selling them off over the time may be the best approach to preserve the value.
Yeah, there was a few different methods that I saw. There was somebody, let me see if I could find it. This was an interesting distribution method that popped up at the end of 2021, where somebody was doing, basically, they're doing Dutch auctions with one of the owners who had like a large supply. So you can see this is 120. So somebody had 120. So about 60% of the entire supply. And they started at 2 ETH and then gradually worked its way down. What's really happened though with these is that it eventually hits pretty much the bottom price, unless it's a very sought after grail, which kind of what happened with This Is Fine Pepe. So, but this was unique because it is distributing, and whatever doesn't sell ends up getting burned. So that just becomes like a supply side, rather as a supply. It becomes a supply destruction based off of the current demand of it, rather than having one central authority burning it because they want to increase the price. So kind of the same gesture, just going about it in a little bit more of a fair distributive methodology.
Yeah, and I think it's a good approach. It's a better approach than just burning them and not distributing them before. But the problem is it's a short-term solution. If you have these assets and you want to get rid of them, and you want to sell them now, this might be a good approach to do it. But if you really believe in the historic, in the provenance, then me personally, I wouldn't do it that way. I would wait for the historic space to grow, and then these will be much more sought after, and then I could do this at a different point in time and have much better results so to speak.
Fair. So kind of intertwining a few things that we've been talked about. V1 punks, they've been a hot debate for quite some time since they started blowing up. I personally had the option to buy them at 1 ETH. I thought that it was overvalued because of the massive supply inequality distribution. Larva Labs owes 1,000. You mentioned somebody else does. What is your take on this? This is actually a common conversation in the Relics Discord that I see. Do you think Larva Labs comes in and dumps on these? What is the historic value here? Will they reach parity with Punk's V2? And then we could kind of talk about different V1 projects afterwards.
So I was also talking about V1 punks in NFT Relics. It was the first spark that ignited this whole frenzy. Someone called Zeke and NoResm or something like this came into the server and just said, "Hey, I have some V1 punks and we want to sell them." I was like, "Well, that's quite interesting," and I picked some up at 0.3 ETH, and the word spread pretty fast, and then I talked to some of the OGs who still hold large amounts, and they said, "Well, we want to make efforts to really to build a dedicated community around them, and also an exchange and everything around it." And it didn't really take long for them to absolutely explode. And I also posted about them on Twitter, and I got massive
Engagement.
Massive flame for them. So a lot of people, they DM'd me, said, "Well, you cannot do this. It's just irresponsible. They are not real punks. They are bugged, and they don't matter." I had a lot of different arguments, but all of these arguments I heard before, and that was with the Ethereum debate. Mm-hmm. It was very, very similar. My approach on it is like, if it's on chain, there is no denying its existence, and you cannot prevent people from not valuing them, even if they have a high price. And we have now the V2 punks at 79 ETH. We had the V1s at 30 ETH each. So of course, a lot of it comes from the supply shock and whales kind of controlling the market. But there are a lot of people who would love to have an original punk and that cannot afford it. And if they buy it for the historic sense, for the OG sense, and just want to be a part of it and hold this token, then I think there is no problem in buying them. And you cannot prevent people from debating from either side. You cannot tell the V1s, well, you are not really the first, and you cannot tell V1s that they have no argument whatsoever. So I think all this debate doesn't really excuse me. All this debate doesn't really bring us forward. Mm-hmm. And excuse me, my throat is a little bit.
You're all good. So it brings up many different questions. So for those that aren't aware, the reason why Larva Labs airdropped V2 is because there was an exploit in V1 where I believe the person who was buying the V1 punks on the exchange could then find an exploit to retain the ETH as well, or is something surrounding that? But it does have provenance, but because it is first. But now you have Larva Labs come out and say that they basically are disowning V1. They're not very happy with it. Does the value then come from the counter movement? Does it come from the provenance of just purely existing first and being essentially the firstborn of Larva Labs? Does it come from the community? Maybe it's a combination of all, but it's then led to this like now kind of growth of, we could talk about block plots, which was Ethereum V1. CryptoCats V1 has got some attention. Genesis Rocks, which is the first version of Ether Rocks. How do these V1s command more attention and build a community? What are your thoughts?
I think with V1s, it was like the historic provenance, that what the on-chain data says. And after Larva Labs made that tweet, which severely backfired, it really became kind of the symbol of the counterculture, and also about I think the V1 contracts are a very good representation of the ethos of cryptocurrency and Web3, and the freedom that people the freedom that people have and can attain through these, because nobody can stop them, and they have every right to do so, to move forward. And we saw it with V1s. We won punks, and then this idea swept all across all the other contracts of these earlier projects, because people understood that these are valuable, and V1 punks was just the vanguard, the first example of them.
Do you think the owners or the original creators who eventually create V2 contracts of the same iteration, they vehemently generally come out against the first version? This is with Cyrus with Ethereum 1.2. I've heard the CryptoCats devs are pretty against V1. I'm not sure with EtherRocks. I think the devs never returned, so that's kind of just a community. Do you think that the counterculture alone of just going against the original creator's vision is enough for these V1s to succeed?
I think so, because these NFTs, they will live on forever. As long as the blockchain lives, they will live as well. And the thing with people is, unfortunately, that they die eventually, and also people lie, and also people change their minds. So we have the possibility of the devs lying. We have the possibility of the devs changing their minds and turning the other way. And we have the possibility that the dev dies. And I think that value shouldn't be dependent, even if it's the dev. I don't think that it should be dependent on a central authority to say what is valuable. They have the right to say what's official and what's supported. But I don't think that they have the right to censor them and to try to dig them into the ground and to be I don't know what else to say.
It's the crypto loves going against authority. It's kind of the whole kind of ethos of just the general idea of cryptocurrency, that Satoshi creating Bitcoin to go against the macro corruption state that it kind of exists. But then it leads to this interesting point. I kind of tweeted something about this earlier, that there are now a handful, we're seeing this as the historical NFT market matures, there are communities forming around these vintage projects that had their original dev or creator just choose not to return or just completely MIA. Do you think these various projects, and there's probably some that I didn't include as well, can find some sort of success through just a complete community revival project?
I mean, I own pretty much every one on that list, except Puny Codes and Ether Rocks. But I saw I was monitoring the development of these realms of Ether. Really did great. They have very great things in store. They have a DAO proposal to buy a real life castle. And they also have ideas to to like split. Like it's so really, really crazy. The proposal is so awesome. And they also have a like a gallery. There it is. A little above there. Yeah. Rounds of either purchase idea. And they also have like they want to make a gallery, so everyone who has like a citadel can go into it and put their NFTs on them. They have a little trailer. I think it was on the other page, not in the DAO, but
on this one. This is right here.
Yeah. So there's Vitalik. It was Vitalik in person. So someone made this like 3D.
And this is the idea of the community introducing their own narrative rather than one person kind of inducing the narrative, which hasn't really existed too much. We kind of saw it in the beginning with Mooncats and then Ponderware came back, but this is just completely the community instituting their own narrative and story around it, which is quite unique.
Yeah, and it's really great to see. Really, it's amazing that there are people who dedicate themselves and who love a project so much that they say, well, let's do it. Let's take this seriously, because all of these projects are very, very valuable. Realms of Ether, there are, I think, only 500.
And 150 of them are lost or still in the original contract that are owned and have never been claimed. So it could even be less.
So very, very small supply. And also the lore, the idea of a citadel is like it has been embedded in Bitcoin culture since the very beginning, that people said, well, if you have one Bitcoin, you'll be giga rich and you will have an own citadel on the hill where you have to protect yourselves from the no coiners and so.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful that this market is now maturing. You covered kind of your experience with building out an Explorer, and then for some of these projects, building wrappers and marketplaces. It is kind of unspoken that in order to revive some of these projects, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes in the technical side, but also the social side with creating the Twitter account and the Discord and the resource tools. If somebody is listening to this and let's say they uncover a historic project that they want to revive and have a community around it, what would you suggest is a few beginning steps to make this happen?
Well, I think the first thing should be to go into NFT Relics Discord and just lay out all the information that one has. All the important stuff, so the contract date and maybe a website supply and all this stuff, and then we as a community look into it and see if it fits the criteria, if it really is a relic, and if it's also not infinite supply or not a scam or not mintable. Because those factors kill the collectability of a rare historic NFT, and then we look at it and then we here for the fortress got sold. Another one.
There was one that sold for 8 right before we started recording.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Even the Genesis rocks, the V1 Ether rock contract got some sales today, which is surprising because there's also unlimited supply on these Genesis rocks. But like I said, one should open a ticket, then list everything, and then we will add it to the sales bot and to the different kind of sections, and make a tweet and discuss it. It really spreads kind of naturally, and if someone made a Discord channel, then we will of course link the Discord channel. And I think the most recent one was Panda Earth. Yeah. So in this case, we looked at the code, and there is a little warning because
I believe the community is actually creating a wrapper so that they can be protected from the dev coming in and maliciously dumping to oblivion.
And also we found like a D-app on the Chinese market, Android market. So there was an app for Panda Earth, and the community took it into their own hands, and it's really, really interesting. Yeah, here's some from the contract. Like we laid out everything because we don't want people to lose money, and and then things will just. I would say if you want to grow your community, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the you have to create connections. You have to network. You have to become someone in the space, and then people will be drawn to you because of the way you are and the way you say things. And I think also Twitter Spaces are a good catalyst. That's a thing I want to do, but I have to say I'm not really I don't really talk a lot. Like in the offline world, I'm like very quiet. So when I'm on a podcast like this, my throat
I can't stop.
Like very hoarse, and but it's okay. Like I have the energy to continue.
So let me propose this question then. We've been sitting here talking about an hour. We've kind of gone through the last year and what a wild year it is. What would you like to see from the overall community of NFT historians? What do you think needs to be done in order to push the entire sector forward?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think people should generally be more unbiased and more honest and stop focusing on the short-term gain and develop some conviction and patience and contribute in any way they can. And this contribution shouldn't be what's floor price and delist now and when mint or whatever, right? All this stuff one can see in the quote unquote normal mainstream NFT world. The historic space is really much the antithesis of hype and of influencer dumping on you and scamming you. It's all about transparency and what the chain says, and I think that's a good start. I think, yeah.
Do you think we'll get a historic NFT section on Coinbase NFT?
Maybe, but when it will be probably full of errors and just a very few, and it will be very shitty. Also, like the descriptions. I mean, if the Coinbase guy is not in the NFT Relics Discord, there's not really much. I'm not bragging here, right? But how can he provide a good educational section of NFTs if he really doesn't know about it, right? And also, I'm not. I said it to a lot of people that I think Coinbase will be much worse than OpenSea in this centralized way. And I mean, we have LuxRare, right? I like LuxRare really much. OpenSea still works. It's still the main place to be. But yeah, I think Coinbase will be a lot. We will hear a lot more noise from stars entering the scene and making another 10K animal PFP or whatever the hype is. I hope it's not, but I expect it to be worse.
So do you think the best option would be to just create an overall NFT historical marketplace? I know Shannon over at Emblem Vault has mentioned that they're building their own marketplace, and it's been instrumental in the growth and that's shed awareness around historical NFTs. Do you think the Emblem Vault marketplace will satisfy, or do we need to band as a community and create something on our own?
So I had the idea to make a complete historic native marketplace. The problem is that it's very expensive and it takes a lot of time and effort. I think the most or the thing where it mostly lacks would be the finances. But yeah, that would be a very good thing if we had like a marketplace only for historic NFTs with all the, like, I have it before my eyes, really, with charts and with comparisons of market caps and like all the stuff. It's like, it would be really awesome. But I think we have to grow a little bit more as a community. And maybe when NFT Relics hits 10K or 20K or 50K members, we could launch a token or some kind of race. And then we could build a marketplace, maybe with Emblem Vault together, or I don't know, right?
Well, count me in on that raise. I'm 100% in.
Yeah.
All right. Instead, we could call it Looks Old instead of Looks Rare.
Right. Yeah, we need our own terminologies there, like looks old and fossil hands.
I like that. I think there's definitely something there. I do agree, though, that we do need to mature. I think first, before our marketplace, more analytics need to surface, like with the different explorers. I think most vintage NFTs should have their own explorer, which just presents all of the information, because then you could build a marketplace and you could kind of scrape from there. Yeah. I have a dream of a Mooncat marketplace that has liquidity pools similar to like NFTX or NFT20 of the specific years that people could just go in and out of, because it's a very unique kind of subset. But that's those kind of like unique niches are relevant to pretty much every historic NFT community. It's just kind of letting them mature first before anything else. And that's kind of why the price moves very slow, because it's a completely different mindset, in my opinion, from the modern NFTs to the vintage ones.
Yeah, and that's what I like, because I mean I started when this all started with ETH Relics in last year. It was like there was nothing, really nothing, and now we hit the milestone of 2,000 members in our Discord, and I'm just so happy to see that that the vision one has. slowly unfolds itself onto the world. Like it's very, very nice to see, because I know from my personal life that I didn't really had much conviction and patience, and the historic NFT space really, really teaches you. It really teaches you. And now I'm just like, I have to stop talking about it because I need more, right? I look at SOGs and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have enough. I look at rare Pepes, I don't have enough. I look at Mooncats, I don't have enough. It's kind of
It is interesting too with the historic space. Now it's starting to have its own separate narratives. I've noticed, at least on the market dynamics, Mooncats is kind of similar to like Doge to altcoins. Once Mooncat starts moving, then the rest of the historical NFT space starts moving. And it seems that rare Pepes are generally last. But right now we have Realms of Ether and rare Pepes, and Namecoin kind of has been popping off in V1 punks. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe the next transition is just V1s in general, and then it all kind of like cycles back within each other. It's interesting because it wasn't like that towards the end of last year during the last like historic run.
Yeah, we had very interesting market dynamics when Skulls
that's what
pumped.
It was.
Yeah. When Skulls pumped, it took me by surprise. I didn't have any idea what was going on. Also, Gary V went into our Discord and everyone was like screaming like a little girl. And I was like, guys, calm down, please. I mean, he's getting tagged everywhere. Just let this guy make educate himself. And I mean, Skulls was very interesting because the projects that pumped after it, they were all from around 2018. So crypto strikers, crypto bots, crypto crystals, they all made a lot of sales and they gained a lot of attention. But the earlier ones, there were some sales on Lunar plots, on Mooncats also. Mooncats reached, I think, 1.3 floor at one point, right? They're now back again.
Back down to 0.7.
it's how right?
It's internal pain.
And but I mean, I've been eyeing some of these Genesis Mooncats, the black ones, right? I really want one of these. But it's like, it's interesting. So we have different kind of dynamics and different kinds of catalysts. And there will be a time where one project really carries all the others. And that's the strength that the historic NFT space that has. Everything is connected. If one really pumps, there is no doubt other sectors, other projects will benefit from that. So I look forward to also an interoperability between these historic projects to be like really a strong unit, a strong force to move forward, because I think they can really trample over all the mainstream flavor of the weeks.
Yep, and we do see slowly big players, big investors from the traditional world and not just the crypto world kind of finding their way in here. Obviously, Gary Vee has shown attention, hasn't really made the heavy bet outside of a bunch of crypto punks. We saw Matt Kalish, who's one of the founders of DraftKings, came in and bought like a Blockhead and an FD card and a bunch of these other ones. Daryl Morey, who's the president of 76ers, has been just acquiring pretty much every vintage asset that ever exists, which is very interesting. And so it just slowly trickles down the history, because it resembles those who like to go to antique stores or collect old baseball cards. A lot of those in this space share that same sort of hobby.
Yeah, and I think it's the same mindset. The same mindset applies. We have things in the real world that can be collected, We have now things in the digital world that can be collected for the very first time. And I cannot think of anything else in the future other than these things will be absolutely priceless. Yeah, some of the grails, they will be priceless. They won't even be available all the time just to buy now, or you have to really get into the circle. You have to get into into a collectors, into this elite. It's like a new elite, and it's so crazy. It's so I mean the realms of the ether thing that it really so insane, right?
Yeah.
These people, imagine if they really buy a castle, right? And only people with the NFT can enter. It's like the biggest. It's like a secret elite club, like from a Hollywood movie, right? Insane.
Yeah, I know one of the jokes with Realms of Ether is that the castle is made up of ether rocks. So I've seen a bunch of memes surrounding it. So I'd assume they'd probably let the ether rock crew in, which is also a very exclusive club with a lot of very notable influencers, creators, and entrepreneurs that are tied. So I think that's kind of where the future of the historic space is that you're going to see a lot of these communities, which kind of already share a lot of the same people, joining forces for whatever the story it is that will be told.
Yeah. The example with Ether Rocks, I think Ether Rocks was like the breakthrough. I think Ether Rocks had the perfect momentum to push really to push its limits. I think nobody can doubt that, because you don't have an asset at 3 ETH that goes to I don't know 800 ETH in a matter of weeks or even days, I don't know, and then hold its value, right? It's like a moonshot, but it didn't came all the way down again. So it's like all the collectors, they saw it and they acquired it, and now they are holding it, and now they are in a closed circle with all. I know someone. I think all in the historic space know someone who is in the EtherRock Discord. But there is like, I think Arthur from BitMax. There's the CEO of Synthetics. Like people with coins in the top 30, top 50, people with exchanges, right? And they're just casually there and they're talking about opportunities and so on and so forth. It's insane. So you don't, you have this historic asset, and you also have the community around, the collector base around it, with all the alpha and all the talent and entrepreneurship. And it's like it opens the world. It opens really to much more possibility.
Yeah, it really does. I think I tweeted this yesterday or a few days ago that NFTs and DAOs are kind of just like tokenized alpha groups. And the Eggs DAOs really opened my eyes to that. I think it's going to really set the stage for a lot of these historic DAOs that come into fruition.
Yeah, I still have to join the Egg DAO. Harry is really. he's like, I told you so, Blackstar. Yeah? You should have joined months ago. And now the entry fee has risen once again.
Yeah, I think the entry fee now is like 7 ETH or something. It was originally 3 ETH. It's just fascinating the way that these communities can figure out what their strengths are fairly quickly, which I don't think in the physical world was that easy to do, right? Like when you work for a company or you're working a 9-to-5 job, there's a lot of people that you hate and you have to be around. And then it takes like months to figure out who your kind of clan is within that circle. With DAOs, with historic DAOs, you have the asset that connects everyone. So everyone there shares some sort of reason to be a part of the community. And then you have a DAO where then you can find some of the even more peculiar or finite skills that exist within the community and then channel it to build something constructive, whether it's a investment DAO buying a castle, or the Puny Codes one has one where they're creating the DAO to pretty much fund future development by those people who excavated the chain and dug up a lot of these Puny Codes or old domains. They all contribute one or two of the assets into the DAO, which they sell that and then use it to build even more projects. So there's so many different ways to go about it.
Yeah, it is pretty insane to think about it, because you don't, I mean, you can always add more. You can always add more. You can always build more. Yeah, it's not just that these are dead assets. The thing with NFTs is that you can have interoperability. You can have these can be tickets. These can be anything, right? And it's like the possibilities are endless. So it will be so exciting, and I think we will have a point in the historic NFT scene where everyone comes really together in like this absolute insane project where every historic project comes together and everyone can participate, and it's awesome, right? Really.
And that'll happen only once we all collect all of the hidden relics before the mainstream comes in.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I need more time.
Yeah, we need more time, and the time window is closing. White Rabbit saw all of this in August, or I think June or something. He was really a pioneer. I read his Medium article a lot of times, just to strengthen my conviction again, because it's just
it's tough sometimes when the OGs dump on you. You're like, God, damn it. Why am I here?
Not again.
Yeah.
It is really like there is no other place I want to be in other than the historic NFT space. It's so full of surprises, and even if we are moving slowly, we're bringing a lot more to the table as a collective.
Agreed. And since it's a different mindset, it's generally not as filled with flippers. They'll always be in and out to catch some of the volatility, but I think once some of the collections reach escape velocity, they'll probably never ever come back. Whenever that day actually comes, kind of like with punks, once they took off, they really just never came back. Same with Ether Rocks.
Yeah. Ether Rocks and punks are the prime examples, and I think every single project will have its time sooner or later. Realms of Ethers, I'm talking about it for multiple. I have been talking about it in this podcast for the third time now. I think it has good chances, I think.
Yeah, it also is one of the current movers right now. It went from like I think I was literally the bottom at 1.35, and now it just
0.7.
You got 0.7?
There was someone who sold it at 0.7, and then it took off.
Okay, yeah, and then today one sold for 8. So like those in V1 are currently at the time of this recording are the two big movers, and then you have Pepe. It's kind of like spread out, but
and it can change any moment, because we have when you compare the historic space, the overall market caps, with the mainstream NFT market, all I don't know, Bored Apes and Atski or whatever this is. Yeah, some projects they haven't been there for 1 month, and they have like 15 ETH floor or something. And I'm just here shaking my head, right? But I mean, when we consider the amount of liquidity that can and probably will enter into the historic scene, we are talking about 100, 500x, 1000x, maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah,
it really is. It's I think it's the best bet, to be honest. Not financial advice.
Yeah, right. Truly, truly. I think that'll be probably the spot that we could end it as well.
Yes.
It's a really bright future. Just have to stay patient, find your herd. There's the cool thing with the space now in its current state is that you go between your Discord or Adam's Discord or the Puny Discord or the Eggs and whichever other ones. And it's a lot of the same people, but it won't be like that forever. So if you ever look back in the time of history of some of the Bitcoin OGs or ETH OGs or whichever project, and they talk about those times where you could easily identify every single person, cherish it now and build your network, because whether it's tomorrow or a year or 2 years, it won't stay like this forever.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, brother. I'm so glad we could do this. I could probably sit here and talk with you for another hour and a half.
I know.
We'll definitely run it back. I'll probably see you on Twitter literally right after this.
Yes.
And we'll see you out in the Etherverse. Keep building, man. And sign me up for Looks Old whenever that token drop happens.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Recording stopped.